All right, back again with another Footy on 9 season preview with Nathan Brown. Brownie, we'll have a look at the Giants here and a pretty poor off-season in terms of the key departures.
Yeah, you never want to lose stars, do you? Jeremy Cameron, a 70-goal kick player, and then also Zach Williams, who can play off half-back so well, but then can also go into the midfield, as we saw in that final a couple of years ago, and tear it up. Jesse Hogan comes in. How much footy does he play? He's an unbelievable talent, Jesse Hogan, and he goes in there with Finlayson and also Himmelberg. So still dangerous goal scorers, and they should be able to kick a big enough score, but certainly Jeremy Cameron going out hurts them.
You mentioned Hogan going into that forward line with Finlayson, Riccardi and Himmelberg. Do you see them being able to do enough to cover Cameron?
I think so. I think Finlayson and also Himmelberg, they're going to be the mainstays. 2 years ago when they made the grand final, they kicked 72 goals between them. Jeremy Cameron kicked 70 that year as well. So they can do it. Now with Jesse Hogan, who's a bit of a different player to Jeremy Cameron, he will get on his bike and he's an aerobic beast. So all of a sudden you've got three players who are pretty good aerobically and can get around the ground. And then Riccardi's the unknown. We haven't seen a lot of him. Does he stand up this year? They do have a lot of goal scorers, but in saying that, they were numbers. They ranked 16th for inside 50s last year. They were still able to kick big scores last year. So I think the problem's in the midfield. Can they get enough ball into these players? I think they'll kick enough big scores if they get the ball inside 50. But the question is, does the midfield do it?
Well, a big question on that midfield is the Ruck Dilemma. They got Braden Preuss across, but he suffered a pretty bad injury, hasn't he?
He's going to be out for a while, Braden Preuss. And when you get someone in for a specific role like that, and it's not going to work in the early part of the season, and Shane Mumford, everything goes on his shoulders again. I mean, he's about 34, 35 years of age. You know Shane Mumford is going to give absolutely everything. So they do have a ruckman who can get the job done. They did look elsewhere. Preuss will probably play in the back half of the year, but a big responsibility on Mummy again.
Down back, they've got some holes to fill as well, with Heath Shaw, Zach Williams and Aidan Corr leaving. How do you see that back line holding up?
Well, this is the issue with GWS. If their midfield continues to play the way they are and get routed out of the middle, they're not a defensive-minded side, GWS. So they need to start doing that because they need to protect their defensive end. If you look at their side at the moment, the weakness is their ruck work and probably the defensive end. And that starts in the midfield. If their pressure's enough to help out their defenders, then it'll be okay. And you're going the other way. When you win enough footy going forward, you should be able to hold the ball in there, which they haven't been able to do as well. So when the ball goes in there, they either score or it comes out at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So the midfield got a massive role.
I guess going back to the likes of Adam Chula and Dylan Sheila, who have left the club in recent years, plus this off-season, do you think this is the year that stuff really takes its toll on the Giants?
Yeah, it will. And a lot of that now comes down to good coaching. Leon Cameron, I think it was a fantastic effort to get to the grand final a couple of years ago. But if I was Leon, I'd be looking at my forward line saying, okay, why is the ball coming out all the time? We're kicking enough scores, but at the same time, if we don't mark it, we're getting hurt the other way. I need to have a look at maybe how Richmond play and put enormous pressure on down there. So I'd be stacking my forward line with a couple of players like maybe a Matty de Boer. Tell Daniels that you are down there to put pressure on. I want you to kick goals, but your main role is to put pressure on. Young Bobby Hill, put pressure on. You need to put enormous pressure on. So they need these players specifically, like Richmond went after, put pressure on because they'll kick it a big enough score. But imagine how good their scoring would be if they didn't mark it and they locked it in there. Then they had second and third opportunities. That's where GWS need to get to.
All right, Brownie, we'll move on to the predictions now. Who do you see as the big improver at GWS?
Big improver for me is Tom Green. Don't know why he didn't play more football last year. I mean, the way he's able to control the football in traffic, in the pack, he's a big boy, he can run, use it well. So for me, Tom Green in the midfield.
And who's the pressure on at the Giants?
Pressure's on the captain, Stephen Coniglio. I mean, they dropped him last year. I think there was a great bit of vision after he gave them a spray at half-time last year, and then Kane Corns identified that the very next effort after half-time, Stephen Coniglio probably didn't live up to his own standards. So the pressure squarely comes on the captain.
They missed finals last year for the first time in a little bit. Where do you see him finishing this year?
Around the same. I think 8th to 10th. They'll be pushing for finals, but I'm not sure they make it.